Welcome, everybody, to the Practical Proficiency Podcast. I am so excited to have a guest here with me today. Kia is here to share a little bit more about her and give us a sneak peek behind the scenes for a Meet the Speaker. We're going to get to know a little bit more about Kia today. I cannot wait to hear more about you, about your teaching practice in your classroom, especially as you are joining us this year as a speaker at Practical and Comprehensible. Celebrate! We can't wait. So let's hear a little bit more about you, in case people are not familiar with your work, and then we will get right into hearing all about what you got going on this year with your classroom. So Kia enjoys teaching and learning with her students, as well as collaborating and coaching with other teachers in and outside of the world language community. And I know you've come and hung out with my members as well before in the Practical Proficiency Network. So for sure, she's been teaching Spanish for 17 years, has taught every grade level between K through 12. Wow. Through her brand, Trailblaze into Language Learning, Kia provides workshops, webinars, and a curriculum coaching membership program focused on student representation, second language acquisition, belonging, and intercultural competence. She has presented at local, state, and regional conferences, as well as the ACTFL conference multiple times. And as a writer of comprehensible short stories and articles, she successfully designs a rich curriculum that keeps her students engaged. Kia, you have so many accomplishments and so many things that you are working on. It is amazing. And I love that you have this focus in here that you've been in the game for an expert amount of years, for 17 years. So is this going to be your upcoming 17th year here, or your 18th?
So I will say 18th year will start like January. So,
okay.
It seems like yesterday. Like it's so crazy. It seems like yesterday was 2006, and then here we are. Like, oh wait, what's happening? But yeah, it goes by really fast, and I've always, told myself, like, as long as I have the passion to continue to teach, to continue to support, I will continue to do it, and I'm still in the classroom. So, yeah.
That's amazing. Well, that brings me to my first question here then, is that you have, especially with your presentation this year, is focusing on like putting the joy back into teaching, especially with middle grades. Like, how have you kept this focus on longevity for world language teaching? Like, tell us more about that.
Yeah. So I will say, as far as like the longevity piece goes, personally, what has seemed to sustain me is always being in a place where you are willing to learn, always being in a place of willing to learn, and also being vulnerable, authentic, and being willing to step out of your comfort zone. Those are really, really important pieces, because I found, like, over the years of teaching, every group that starts a new school year is going to be different from the last group. Every 4 or 5 years or so, sometimes every year, education is going to change. And we've seen that happen post COVID and things like that. So there's always something to learn, and there is always something to continue to, I don't know if I want to say like get better at, but continue to grow in. And I think too, with that comes reflection, being reflective. And I think, as an introvert, believe it or not, I am an introvert. You can ask my family members. They're always like, "Where's mommy?" Like, she's in the closet, like just sitting and having some time to herself, The introspective piece of always reflecting and being self-reflective, that's been something that's come very naturally to me. And so being able to do that and then putting that in place, applying that to the different areas of my life, whether it be, family, business, or, personal fitness goals, or whatever the case may be. That has been another key component, too, as well. And so, I know for the conference coming up, I'm so excited, and I'm grateful to be invited as a speaker. I'm so excited. I'm going to be talking about the middle. And I just wrapped up about 8 years of teaching middle school. Um, and it's so special. And what I found too is, I don't know if there's a lot of I don't know if there's a lot of us. I don't know if there's a lot of world language teachers that are hanging out in middle school, for like a long time. Um, I tend to see either it's like elementary or it's like high school, you
Yeah.
know, and I totally get it, because those levels, when I think like fifth through eighth, like it's something that has to agree with you, and there has to be, a certain like connection and calling to it. But I never imagined that I would be, part of middle school for like 8 years. I literally was like, oh, maybe 4 or 5 years. But then 4 years more later. But I mean, but it's great. It's such a special group. There's so many things happening. The cognitive development, the social emotional learning that's like going on.
Mm.
And you do have to keep that in mind too, in addition to what you're doing in the classroom as well. But I mean, I've loved it, and it'll be something that I will miss for a bit, at this season of my teaching, because I'm actually transitioning back to high school, and I'm going to be
Oh,
teaching high school at my alma mater, and I'm so excited.
that's
Yeah.
incredible.
Yes. So like full circle.
Full circle. So is there anybody at your school that you like either remember working with or who was there when you were a student at your alma mater?
You know what? I don't know. I think quite a few teachers have like retired, but I I still remember, I mean, like the hallways, and we have two different buildings. It's a huge campus. There's like 2,000 plus students that go,
Oh yeah.
there. And so I don't know. I'm really excited to see. Um, yeah, so I will find out very soon.
What a joy that must be to teach where you were taught. Like that must connect with your students a lot. That opportunity to say, like, yeah, I sat in that same chair. I know exactly how you feel. So don't pretend like I'm that different from you.
Right. Right.
So are
Oh
you
my gosh.
excited to jump it back into high school?
I am. I am. I'm really excited. I do know that there's going to be a couple things that I am going to have to really, have a plan for. So, such
Mhm.
as like, the earbuds and the cell phones. I'm well aware of like the tricks where it's like, you put the hair
Mhm.
over the earbud, so um, but overall, I am very excited. I'm super excited and really looking forward to pouring back like into my high school community, and giving the students, even more. So yeah.
So cool. And you also have like I always like to ask like fellow creators about this too. Like you have something really special where you get to use like a lot of the stuff that you're making, like the curriculum that it says in here, like you've created a lot of curriculum focused materials, and now you get to work on them with your high school students and see them in real time and get all that like juicy feedback you never asked for but you actually need. Like that's, I bet you that's going to be really exciting to see that happen in real time too.
Yes. Yes, very, very exciting. I'm really looking forward to that. One of, well, I, yeah, one of the materials I will say is it's a collaboration between AC Quintero and I, and it's centered in on the African communities within the Spanish speaking communities. And so, even though it when we do write it, like it's written for novice to, I would say maybe like intermediate mid. Um, I am looking forward to hearing like a little bit more, as you said, like of their feedback, like as high school students, and also being able to like see their faces of just like, wow, like, who is this? And we don't really, know about this person. So I'm really excited about that. But
Uh,
yeah,
that's going to
yeah,
be so incredible. I bet you they're going to flip out when that gets put in front
yeah,
of them. What a
yeah.
cool thing. What is something that you absolutely love working on with your students? Is a totally like off the cuff question. Like, what is one of your favorite things that you like? One of your favorite resources, like put in front of them and be like, yes, I love their reactions to this. Like, what's something that they've reacted really well to?
Um, Gosh, trying to think. Like I've got a couple of things. Honestly, I will say, this is a tough one because I don't know whether to go introspective or I don't know whether to go extrovert. um, I will say for me, feedback. I don't know. Like one thing that I did find, as a middle school teacher is that, you know, my students did not shy away from giving me feedback at all. And
Yeah.
sometimes I was like, okay, yeah. So next time you want to give me this feedback, maybe think about tailoring it this way because it can look like this.
Delivery, y'all.
But yeah, delivery, like, I would definitely say feedback. And I say that because, you know, early on in my career, that was something that I was afraid of and I shied away from,
Mm.
as far as like not asking my students what they thought about a lesson or either how we started class or how things were going. And over the last maybe like five, maybe a little longer than that, over the last like 7 years, I've seen how valuable it is. Um, and just how important it is to really not only value that feedback, but centering, the needs of the students, like in your classroom. Um, and with that in mind, when even if it's feedback like based on like, hey, we really didn't like this activity, or either no, profe, we're not going to do this, anymore, this kind of thing. Um, I'm also thinking about feedback when it comes to like their assessments. And this was
Mhm.
something that I tried new this past year, where I literally was like, okay, I don't want to grade everything under the sun. I don't have the time for it. So
Mhm.
we're going to try and make this smart, effective, and very purposeful. So what I ended up doing, I would pass back their quizzes, and I remember one day they looked there like, Profe, you didn't grade it. I'm like, no, you're right, I didn't.
A quiz? That must have
I'm like,
rocked their world.
I know. They're like, so what are we gonna do? And I was like, okay, this is what we're gonna do. So what I explained to them, I said, you all are in groups, so you're in your pods. I want you all to talk through the first part. The first part was a writing piece. I want you all to talk through it, read through it. Um, share. You can even do it in partners, or you
Mm.
can do it all as a group and take turns and offer feedback to one another on, what you wrote or maybe what you clean up. And if you have questions, and I would tell them like common, questions or things that would pop up, we will discuss and go over as a group. And it was amazing to see because they really took it and like ran off with it. And I know I did have a couple students that were just like, yeah, I don't really feel comfortable exchanging my papers. So
Mhm.
I didn't have them exchange their papers. I was like, just keep your paper. Make sure you have a different color utensil. And some of them were like, well, does it have to be red? I'm like, no, it doesn't have to be red. We can, yeah, any color. And I what you all talk about, what you wrote. And then if you have questions, if your partner has something else different, you all can talk about why, pull your notes out. And so it generated so much discussion. So that by the time we got to the large group part and we went over like certain sections together, um, it it just went very well. I mean, there was maybe like very little that I did have to add.
Mhm.
And so then after that, I would just collect their papers and I'd take a look at their feedback and their highlighting and things like that. And I would go ahead and, put it into the system depending on whatever, the standard was like on that day or whatever the, I can statement was. Um, but it was, they really, I know one thing that was an activity that they really did enjoy. It was really enjoyment for them. So,
This is so I'm in love with this for so many different reasons. My first and foremost favorite part of it is that you're turning an assessment opportunity into what it truly is supposed to be, which is a learning opportunity. Like it's information for both you and them. Like they get to see how meaningful like, oh, I took this quiz, but instead of just like forgetting about it and moving on to the next thing, like they're learning from it. They're getting feedback from it, which is honestly far more real world than just getting an assessment and then moving on with your life. Like in any other area of life, when you get some sort of feedback or assessment, you're going to sit down and talk about it with somebody. You're going to talk about how you want to grow from it. And so I love the sneaky subversiveness of it, of like making sure like stay on your toes. Like we're not going to do the typical classroom experience of grades with this. I love this idea. That was a really, really good one.
thank
Talk
you.
about real world stuff.
Yeah, and it's like that's what it is. That's what it's about. Like how, what connections can we make that is going to be real, for the students and that is going to create um, more pathways for them to grow. So, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And with that, so you talked about like you're jumping into high school this year. You're really excited to go into your alma mater. What else are you looking forward to this upcoming school year?
Um I would say I'm looking forward to getting to know the culture and the community
Mm,
um, of the school. Like it has been, I'm kind of going to date myself. So I graduated in 1999.
right.
Prince's song "Party Like It's 1999." That was like actually the song that we used.
Amazing.
Anyway, so
I'm here for all this.
and so I'm very curious about that.
Mm,
I'm looking forward to seeing like how things have changed and what direction things are going in. I know right now my alma mater has been heavily focused in on work of equity
mm,
and student centered and things like that, which is great. Um, and I'm looking forward to getting to know like the members of my department. Um, and definitely, coming from a place of like, I'm here to learn because I know sometimes like when people see like my name and it's like, and it's like, and I say that because I don't want anybody to get intimidated or anything like that. So I'm very excited to be a part of a team that hopefully doesn't feel that way, but I'm there to learn too. I'm there to support them. Just as they're there to support me. Um, and just looking forward to getting back into the culture. Matter of fact, like this weekend is like alumni weekend. So my sister
Perfect.
and I were actually going, and so I'm really excited about that. I mean, I keep up with our class on Facebook, and I haven't announced that I'm going to be a teacher there or either teaching some of the children of some of the people that I graduated with.
That's
So I haven't,
true.
yeah.
Even better.
So I'm really looking forward to that. Just the community, the culture, and taking all of that in and just receiving all the information, and even more growth, that
Mhm.
I can. So yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
lovely. Oh, I'm excited to hear about how it goes. With thinking
yes,
about this too, I have one last question for you, and that
yeah.
is with you spoke at length about longevity and how you've achieved that in a wildly demanding profession, and I appreciate too how you spoke to that, the wisdom that you have to share from being in this game for the amount of time that you have noticed that this comes in cycles. Like every 4 to 5 years, teaching really does seem to change. And I'm wondering what's your perspective on how do you balance the demands of that? Like with a really high demand profession that we have, you've obviously got something that works for you, because I can tell that you're excited to go into like a new role even too, with going back to high school and keeping it fresh with that. So, how do you balance all of that? How do you balance the demands of this profession?
Mm, wow. Um, I I have learned, um, you know, your mental health, your health comes first.
Mhm.
Um, Coming up, through the trenches, as my teaching friend would say, of teaching, I remember being in a position or being in a place where I didn't want to ask for a day off because of either, people not being able to, find a sub, or because, oh, I don't want them to think that I'm slacking, or whatever the case may be. And so looking back, um, I realized just how, uh, you grow with wisdom. And so what I've learned is that you have to take care of yourself. Um, you have to take care of yourself first. And when you don't take care of yourself, then you really don't have anything really to give. And I've learned this in a variety of different ways, through hard knocks, life experiences such as getting sick. Like, I mean, I just remember, teaching and going and getting sick and just, showing up, you know, and we all have our own, limits where it's like, okay, maybe a cough here and there. But I remember showing up when I obviously, like, I needed to be at home
Mhm.
resting. Um, and as a result, because I didn't do that, I would end up, you know, having to be out for like a week because like my asthma would get, agitated and things like that and everything. So with that being said, taking care of myself first, and that requires like setting some healthy boundaries. That is a huge piece. And it I was reading a book. I'm reading a devotional, and it's for women. And so there was one chapter that talked about seasons. And so it's so important to remember and to know and be aware of like what season that you're in. be it within your career, be it within your personal life or, business or whatnot. Um, because we have to realize that we can't do everything at once.
Mhm.
And I know for me personally, that's me because I want to do all the things. And it's like, no, you can't do everything at once. And just because you can't do that one thing right now doesn't mean you won't be able to do it down the line. It just means that you're just not right now. You're
Mhm.
not going to do it right now because there are other things that are priority that you have to prioritize. So, yeah, getting rest, setting boundaries, um, and also like finding a community that is going to support you in your journey. That is really important. um, we all have our, quote unquote people or community or whatever it is, you want to call it, and you want to make sure that you have that and that you find that because we do need each other. And that's really, really important. um, and last thing I will say to that too is, learning how to say no. you know
Mhm.
um, no is a sentence, period. Or no thank you.
That's it.
That's it. That is okay. And I think sometimes with the hesitancy with that is that we are so afraid of being rejected, like by people, or just like, oh, what is this person going to think of me if I'm not able to do this part, or if I'm not able to join this committee, or whatever the case may be. And we have to be willing to, okay, I have to take care of myself. I know I have X, Y, and Z like going on at home or going on over here in this area of my life. I'm not able to do this right now, and that is okay. And being able to continue through um, and journey through life in that way. And so, I mean, all of what I just said, it, that was the journey. That did not happen overnight, but it was definitely, a journey. And I found that that has been really, really helpful and just the key to really sustaining. So,
Oh, and it's daily, isn't it?
yeah.
I need to remind myself of this daily. Wow, thank you for sharing this with us. I'm sure that for those of you who are listening in and for those of you who are watching, that you're just in awe of how much Kia has to offer. I know I am. Of It's so nice to hear from somebody who is grounded, wise, and sure of like, this is what works for me. This is what makes me feel good. And I know that choosing me first is what's really going to benefit everybody else around me too. So thank you so much for sharing a little peek inside your classroom and all of the exciting things that you have coming up this year with teaching at your alma mater and switching to high school. You got so many cool things going on. And I can't wait to hear about how it's going to go. Thank you for joining us at Practical and Comprehensible too and sharing your wisdom there.
Yes. I'm so excited. Like,
Yeah, it's going to be
super
awesome.
excited. It's going to be great. Yes.
Y'all, make sure that you check out Kia's presentation. It's going to go live very soon. And if you are watching this after the fact, if it's before August 5th, you can still catch it with the all access pass. But if you use the link below here, you will be able to support Kia's work directly with this affiliate link at zero cost to you. It is just magical the way that this stuff works. So thank you again, Kia, for being a part of the show. And we had so much fun with you. Thanks for joining us.
All right. Thank you so much, Evan. I really appreciate it.
Bye.
Bye.